First, Al Capone does my shirts, and then he shines my shoes. You know what, next time I'm just gonna make him do my homework. Get what I'm saying? This is a sequel to Al Capone Does My Shirts. I already read this one. The main character is Moose or Matthew Flanagan, and the antagonist is Piper. Weird name. And she made fun of Moose and made lies about him and his father because everyone loved Moose and she wanted everyone to hate him because she didn't get the love that Moose got. But then in the end they made up and they became really close best buddies. And another person is Jimmy, who was Moose's best friend to begin with. Teresa is 7 and she's Jimmy's sister, even though she is way too smart for her age. Annie is another person. She's not that important, but she's part of the cool Moose gang. And another person is Janet Trexel. So those are most of the major characters in this story. I'm just gonna abbreviate for Al Capone Does My Shirts for shirts and Al Capone Does My Shoes for shoes because saying that is too long. So the main difference between shirts and shoes is that was funny, is that in shirts, Al Capone never comes out. It mentions him helping Natalie get into the special needs school, but it never actually shows him meeting and greeting Moose and Natalie and all the other people. However, in shoes, he actually comes out several times. At the end of the story, is the most important and fun part. Piper gets a new baby brother. Yay! His name is Walter. I like that name. But, however, Piper's mom was pretty ill and she was sick, so people said that after she gave birth to Walter, that she would die. But Piper did not want to believe that. However, she survived. Yay! Hooray for Piper's mom. However, here's the bad news. Walter gets by 2 cons. If you want to read what happens to Walter, read the book yourself. All I can tell you is that Natalie, the pest in shirts, saves the day and becomes the hero. I think the special thing about this whole sequel, is how many major characters it has. Usually, if you look at other books, they would usually have 1 or 2 major characters with a few other minor characters. There are no minor characters. Every single character in this book is important, except Moose is a little more important than the others. And this, 3 notes. This is very important, between Al Capone and Moose. So remember in shirts, Moose sent a note in his laundry to give to Al Capone that says, please help Natalie get into the special needs school. One day after, she got in. But the book starts with Al Capone or whoever gave him the laundry, and there's a note saying, your turn. And Moose is like, who is this? Like, I think it's Al Capone, but no one signed this, so I can't be sure. But then it turns out it was Al Capone, and he wanted Moose to not let the warden find out that he got flowers for his wife, May Capone. And Moose does all these crazy things to help Al Capone because helping Natalie get into special needs school was so important because she's technically 16, not 10. So that was very important, and Moose wanted to help him out too. And in the end, Al Capone is a waiter. There's a chapter called Al Capone is the Waiter. And at the end of the book, he gets one final note from Al Capone saying, good job. Those words from Al Capone are so like charismatic. You know, actually I watched the documentary, the biography of Al Capone for like 40 minutes on PBS. Luckily, I was able to catch that. And it showed every single detail of it. I almost fell asleep. Shh, it's a secret. So, turns out Al Capone looks kind of scary because he's a little chubby. And he has that awesome hat. I love his hat, I want it. And he's actually known for his hat. But his nickname, Scarface. He has a scar starting from his ear all the way down to his mouth. But when people take pictures of him, he always positions himself in such a way that no one can capture the scar on his face. So smart. So what I learned from Al Capone is that you have to be smart to become a criminal. If you want to be a criminal, be smart. I'm not saying become a criminal. Guys, do whatever you want. Be a doctor, be a lawyer, whatever you want. I'm just saying, if you want to become a criminal, then you gotta be smart. And you gotta catch things really quickly, like Al Capone. And, I wish he didn't die. I want to meet him, but I hope he didn't shoot me. So Al Capone, in the biography, said that he was a very nice person, and he was more famous than notorious. However, Al Capone set up a smart plan to kill another gang, all the 7 men, and then they all died. They all got slaughtered. And that massacre was the first, that was the most amount of blood the audience has seen ever. So Al Capone, that's how he became notorious, and no one liked him anymore. Everyone was like, how dare he kill all of the 7 men so painfully? And everyone didn't like Al Capone. However, he was very nice to them. He fed the homeless because they didn't have any food, because he had so much money. He, I think it said that he earned to approximately $100 million an year. That's a lot. I wish I was Al Capone. So that is the basic historical part of this historical fiction. And remember that blank blank, what happened to Walter? That is the climax, even though it is almost at the end of the book. So if you want to find out what happens to cute little baby Walter, then you should read this book. The thing I'm regretful about is because this one didn't get a Newbery, but the first one did. But I think this one deserves a Newbery too, but I guess they couldn't give the whole sequel a Newbery because there's 3 of them. Homework. So the next book, I just said it, sorry, spoilers, is Al Capone Does My Homework. I wish someone would do my homework for me. So I am going to probably read that next, and you should expect another book review for homework. I got you! I tricked you! You thought it was the end, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, I have one question to ask. Why do people think these Al Capone books are so important? Why do they care about them? Well, people say that these are grade 4 or 5 books, but the historical background is so important that you might not be able to understand the story if you didn't know who Al Capone and what Alcatraz Island was. So here is some of the historical crucial background. Alcatraz Island is in San Francisco, and it's actually pretty far from the San Francisco Bay, so if you try to swim out of the jail, you will freeze and die because the water is so cold. And it's also known as The Rock, and it's where the most notorious and dangerous criminals are kept in jail so that they don't run out and kill another person again. And actually, I've been to Alcatraz Island, and here is proof. This is my family wall, my mom, and in case you forgot how I looked when I was 8, here I am, boom. And right here is Alcatraz Island. Another one is with my daddy, and over there. And this is the closest and best look at Alcatraz Island. Woo! So don't mind the ship there. This is The Rock, and it's where all of the notorious criminals are kept. Awesome! Great to bring back memories again. Second important thing is the Great Depression. Woohoo! We went from happy to sad. That's pretty suddenly. Okay, so the Great Depression was when the economy went down so much that people couldn't eat and everyone was jobless. However, the good thing is that everyone started recovering starting from the 1933s. Yeah. And actually, that's when Al Capone helped feed the homeless because he was most famous in the 1920s to 1930s. That's when the Great Depression happened. The second point is the Great Depression. Very sad for the United States at that time period. Millions of people lost their jobs and became unemployed. People were living homeless and they didn't have enough food to feed themselves or their family. That is when Al Capone came in to save the day. Yeah, hero time. So, Al Capone, when he was young, his father worked as a barber and he learned very little money and his mom didn't have a job. She just worked as a housewife. So they were living on the streets and they were very poor. But then when Al Capone started getting rich from his young crime life and worked all the way up to the first star notorious criminal, when he earned all that money and the Great Depression hit, it was very sad for him because he remembered all those hard times that his father and his family went through to do that. So that's why he fed the homeless at that time of the Great Depression. And it started about 1929 and ended mid-early 40s. The third point is Babe Ruth. Woo! 84 home runs, 200 something outs in his season. Amazing baseball player. You know, Moose's favorite sport is baseball too. That's his stress reliever. Like how my stress reliever is my phone and playing games and watching movies. Lots of other stuff. And that's his favorite sport. So those are the three important historical events that it will be helpful for you to know for these books and the homework one. So I hope that you have enjoyed the book review, and now it is the end.